Hi there, I'm Gary. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm looking at the brand new Avia S-199 in 1/48 scale from Eduard. This is the first of the new hybrid range where a number of parts are replaced by 3D printed pieces, dramatically reducing the overall parts count, but Eduard says maintaining the accuracy and detail you are familiar with. Now, if you enjoy the video, then please let YouTube know by giving it the imperial thumbs up, by subscribing and by hitting the notification bell. Why not leave a comment about what you think of the new hybrid range as well? I'd love to know your opinion. So let's make a start by having a quick look at the box this kit comes in. Okay, so here we have the box of the new Eduard Brasson hybrid kit of the Avia S-199 with the Erler canopy, the clear canopy like that. 1/48 scale, and it looks a nice piece of box art actually. The Erlers were used by obviously the Czech Republic, or Czechoslovakia as it was, who made them, but also in the Israeli Air Force as well. Here it is in combat and having apparently got the better of a Spitfire. Okay, on this long side here we have the 6 schemes that are included in the box. As you can see, there are 3 for the Israeli Air Force and there are 3 for the Czechoslovak Air Force. This here is the one I'll be going for, I suspect. The one thing you do have here is the item number 948011, and you have lots of recycling things here, some of which make sense, some of which don't. Not to me anyway. I don't know whether we actually recycle class 21 plastics in here, for example, in this part of the country. Over here we just have a reprise of the box art. It says it's a kit for advanced modelers and includes 3D printed parts. There is a lot of very small 3D printed parts, which is why they suggest it is for more experienced modelers. It was a very trim looking box, nicely finished, nice glossy colour. Let's see what we get inside for our money. Okay, so the box lid comes straight upwards. It's a top opening box, which is nice because you get a tray for everything. We have here a big box marked Eduard Brasson. This is where all the 3D printed stuff is. We have our instruction sheet, as usual, full colour instruction sheet. We have actually not many frames of plastic. What, 3 frames of plastic in here? We have the clear parts, we have a decal sheet, stencil sheet, and a canopy masking set. Now let's have a look at all these different bits and pieces in a bit more detail. This is the first of the grey plastic frames. This is listed as frame B for Bravo, and as you can see it's 2 fuselage halves, and these are the gun packs under the wings. Next we have frame D for Delta. We have the wings, the bottom and the 2 top halves. We have rudder, ailerons and horizontal stabilizers. We have flaps, and we have the leading edge slats as well. And then frame E is the rest of the grey plastic. There really isn't that much in this kit, and not all of it you're going to use. For example, here you're not going to use this engine cover, you're going to use this one because they have modelled the 2 machine guns. There's an alternative rudder here. These are the flaps near the radiators, the spinner propeller. Propeller looks very, very big and flat and round. Very unusual. Fuel tanks, undercarriage covers, really not that much. Then we have the transparent parts. We have the Erler canopy here, we have the bubble canopies here, obviously we're not using, have wind screens. I can't remember which of these we use. This is the armour plate behind the pilot as a gun sight, and a few bits of lights. Not very many bits of clear plastic to worry about. If we have a look at the moulding, it's just beautiful. Eduard moulds are lovely. The detailing is really, really, really nice. If we let it focus, you can see the quality of these lines. Panel lines are never too heavy. They just look right. They'll look beautiful when they're weathered and when they're highlighted. Absolutely spectacular printing. The only thing I don't like on this is this pitot, which will get broken. Oh, it's just no two ways about it. This will get broken, and that's an annoyance I don't think I should have to deal with. It would, considering the amount of very, very finely printed resin, including an IFF aerial that looks exactly the same thickness as that. I think maybe that should have been resin printed as well. But other than that, this is a very, very fine set of printing. Very, well, moulding rather, I should say. This is all moulded. Sometimes you forget with detail like this. This is actually moulded. Beautiful, beautiful work. Again, the quality of the moulding here is just superb. It's just lovely. It really is really, really, really good. Obviously, this is all, what you get with Eduard anyway. The difference is now that there aren't any small parts to show. Normally, I'd be showing you tiny, tiny bits of plastic to say, oh, look how well they've moulded this control wheel or whatever. But they haven't moulded any of them. They're all 3D printed. A lot of them are pre-installed even. But the plastic you do get is exceptionally well moulded. Of course, what everyone's talking about with this kit is the amount of pre-assembled 3D printed stuff here. So you can see, for example, the cockpit here is completely pre-assembled for the base. So you've got the seat in place, you've got the straps there, you've got the rudder bars and rudder pedals, everything. It's all there. The side you have the throttles and all the control levers, most of them at least, are here already. There are a few little bits and pieces that you have to add, and they are here. There's also other things like aerials and the IFF aerial, a few control wheels, the direction finding loops, smaller things like that are in here. The undercarriage, you'll notice the undercarriage is a much different colour, plastic or resin altogether. That's because this is supposed to be a particularly sort of high strength resin so that it will take the weight of the kit, which is the important thing. Here we have the wheels, and here we have the tail wheel, and you get an option of the sitting of the tail wheel, whether it's on the ground or in the air. So quite a lot of interesting little bits and pieces. The wheel, I think, is weighted, so it seems to be a key for where it sits, so I suspect the wheel is actually weighted. Now, Eduard say that, from what I've seen on their site at least, that these will go into the aircraft with regular modelling cements, like Tamiya extra thin or whatever. I guess we'll see that later on. I'm not 100% convinced, because normally resin, you have to use either epoxy, or you have to use PVA, or of course you have to use super glue. One of those things will work, but we'll see. We'll see how we go. I mean, just get close up to look at the quality of the print. The quality is superb. These buckles on the belts and everything will be easy to pick up. You can do a little bit of dry brushing maybe, or rubbing to pick up some of the details in some of the rivets as well. This is lovely, lovely printing. So here's the Decals sheet. Eduard decals are rather controversial. Some people like them, some people don't. I'll see how we get on with them. The markings are, of course, for Israeli Air Force and for Czechoslovak Air Force, with individual aircraft markings. That's a fancy tail here as well. Some little squadron codes, and of course in here some instrument decals. They all look very nice, all look very crisp and clean. The colours do look a little muted, but that's because, of course, on the Eduard decals, which are a little controversial, the carrier film is on top of the printed decal, not underneath it. So we'll see how we go with that. There's a separate sheet of stencils. Again, the colours look fine, if ever so slightly pale. But again, I think they sort of warm up when you put them on the kit and then you put a clear coat down. I'm not going to try and take the carrier film off these. I'm just going to put them down. Other people say, oh, you should always do that because that's where the decal is. But then they don't tell you to do that in the instructions. So I've never seen anywhere on the Eduard site saying this is how, otherwise they tell you how to do it, presumably. So I'm going to leave them as they are and just clear coat them and see how we go. So here we have a close-up look at the decals, and you can see the printing is really nice, really sharp, very, very much in register and everything else. Just looks really nice, just looks really lovely. The screen printing means that you get individual colours rather than 4-colour print where you've got 4 colours trying to make up others. These are just pure colours that get printed. As I say, they do look a little bit hazy, but that's because of the carrier film. That will disappear when the carrier film's on and there's some clear coat on. I like these little inscriptions on this aircraft as well. It's quite cute. But yeah, these are lovely, absolutely lovely decals, and I think they'll be grand. Likewise, the stencils are really clean, really clear, beautifully printed. Absolutely nothing wrong with these at all. At 1/48th, you really are not going to get much better, and you certainly aren't going to be able to read any better anyway. So this is, you know, taking it to the limit. You get if you're familiar with the aircraft, you'll know what it says. If you really, really want to find out, you can get up close and see what it says. Amazing, lovely, lovely quality of decals. And of course you get a paint mask, pre-cut. I'm guessing these are die. I don't know if it's a die cut or laser cut, but it's a standard Eduard fare on really nice paper. These will be very, very accurate indeed. The instruction sheet, Eduard instruction sheets are very, very attractive to look at. It's in full colour throughout, glossy paper, which is very nice. It gives a really good sort of quality feel. There's a reprise of the box art, the name and scale of the kit, and the product code again. Here points out this is from the hybrid range, new hybrid range. And then there's quite an extensive history of the Avia S-199, including with this kit with the Erla canopy. So that's really, really good work. And it's not in any other language either, so that's really a lot of information there. In here we have a list of all the parts. As you can see, there are 3 grey plastic frames and 1 frame of transparent parts. You see several of the grey plastic bits you're not going to be using. Then there's the resin parts from Brassin. There's quite a lot of them. There's even a little starting handle. How nice is that? Then there's a colour call out here, or the colours that you're going to be using. A lot of these are going to be mixed to make the various colours of the outside of the aircraft, but the inside is essentially RLM 66, sort of black grey. Now, this is quite a detailed looking cockpit, and as you can see, there are basically like 5 parts. 6 parts maybe for the whole thing, which is quite unusual. This side you just stick the whole lot in. This side you stick the whole lot in with an extra little handle. There's the instruments there, and then you put the whole lot together. So this is the whole of the cockpit and fuselage construction is in one page, because this is a hybrid kit where all of these details are pre-put in. Now, my concern, my only argument, as it were, would be going by this set of instructions. Everything inside there is RLM 66 black grey, which is fine, but nothing is coloured apart from this one little box here, which is blue, and the instrument panel is flat black instead of black grey. There was much more colour and bits and pieces. I'm sure there are lots of bits and pieces of metal and white thing. So I think you're going to need to do some research of your own to find out if you want to really pimp up that interior. You could do it in black grey, I guess, and then dry brush a lot of the detail, which would be fine. The straps, for example, I'm sure they're not going to be black grey. They're going to be hemp or something like that. For example, there's going to be bits of the interior there that are going to be aluminium and not painted grey. But as I say, check your references if you want to be that precise. I mean, you want to give it some amount of visual impact, because after all, that's a lot of detail in there. Ah, well. So anyway, the whole thing goes together, and then the undercarriage positioning blocks here. The good thing is that means that you don't have to put the gear in before you spray paint, which is excellent. The cockpit floor drops into the base of the fuselage when it's put together, which is just very nice and very simple. The wings, you have single piece inserts for the wheelbase, which is kind of new. These bits just go, 2 bits, in they go, wings go on, rear empennage goes on. There's a nice touch of a little actuator there that goes on, which is very nice. In here we have the engine cover, and as I said, we've got the engine cover that has a couple of inserts here for the guns, and there's a choice of bits and pieces here, which one goes on what, and they tell you here in the codes which bits go for which aircraft you're building. Radiator systems goes underneath, balance horns are here. The undercarriage, very straightforward. Look, one leg, one door, wheel, job's done. And that's amazing. It's even got this brake line that's actually moulded into the resin, which I saw earlier. These bits on again. Actually, one of these is for a different aircraft. One of the aircraft had a slightly taller rear wheel. I would have thought it was for compressed and uncompressed for flying, but apparently not. And that's it. The wheel is set by a peg, like I think, just goes in. So no more of this sort of placing it and trying to get the angles. It should go straight into this angle automatically that you want. I've seen that on FX, the new 148 Spitfire, and of course the 124th has got a similar thing, a big chunky peg designed to go in and set the undercarriage absolutely right, which is brilliant. I really like that. Then the top of the canopy stuff all here, the armor plate goes in there. This huge paddle of a propeller, which is quite comical to my eyes anyway. Gun sight goes in, pop, 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 all done. Guns underneath, job's done. I mean, it's scarily few parts. You have a masking set. They do mess around with the design of the masking set here, so you can't just scan it and copy it and reproduce it. But anyway, they tell you where all the various bits go on and the order they go on the canopy, and you need a little bit of liquid mask up there, which is fine. And then we're into the schemes. So here we go, the Israeli Air Force ones. That's one of the ones with a really funky tail. See these colours, the bulk of it is 80% grey and 20% light green. So it's a grey-green. You must be able to get something close to that. Anyway, that's with the guns numbers. There's the third of the Israeli aircraft. And then we have the Czech aircraft here. Oh, very nice. This is the one I'm doing. It's from the Air Military Academy. And these are bits where it's been repaired and stuff, and they haven't got the same colour paint and stuff like that. And I think it's lovely. And there's one of the leading edge slats here is a different colour to the whole of the rest of the wing. And it's got a nice blue spinner. I really like this. And this is one I'm going to do. Another one here is F from one squadron. And then on the back there's a stencil. There's lots of stencils on. The other thing I like about this is a lot of these stencils were overpainted or missing. So a lot of these little bits and pieces weren't there, which is brilliant because it means I don't have to put them on. So that's all very, very nice. And it's a lovely, lovely instruction book. There it is. And I think that at first glance, at least, Eduard might be onto something. I think that some more detailed call-outs for spot colours in the cockpit, for example, would be a good idea. But otherwise, the parts look extremely well printed. And if they do, as Eduard claimed, go in with regular polystyrene cement products, then this could be the way forward for a lot of kits. I'm not sure how this will integrate with the look range of pre-made instrument panels and the like, but I guess Eduard has already thought about that. Anyway, it'll be interesting to build, and I'm getting onto that very soon. If you enjoyed the video, do please remember, give it the old Imperial thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell. Thanks so very much for watching today, and goodbye.